Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis, where every day I aim to bring you the latest UFO reports and other fascinating stories from around the globe. Today is Wednesday, January 24th, 2018. On Fridays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, join me for my radio talk show, The Outlander, where I answer your emails, take your calls, and interview some absolutely intriguing guests. Just go to irnchat.com to chat, interact, and listen live to The Outlander Show. Blasting off with some random, unedited UFO reports from everywhere. The first UFO sighting occurred in San Antonio, Texas. A UFO blast from the past, July 18th, 2013. And they call it an alien was in my bedroom. Ooh. In more detail, I had fallen asleep in my mom's bedroom from watching a movie with her. I woke up after seeing a light turn on in the kitchen. Well, aliens gotta see. For some reason, it felt like time stopped. It was like white noise, and for some reason, my mom nor the dogs were waking up. I saw this entity that looked male. He was picking up different things and staring at them for a bit before putting them back down. I grabbed my bedside lamp, fearing he was a thief. He moved swiftly and quickly through the kitchen and living room. Before I knew it, he was in the bedroom, and my mom and the dogs were still not waking up. I was holding the lamp over my chest, trying to protect myself. The man/alien moved closer towards me, and I turned on the lamp that I was holding to my chest to see better, thinking I might as well see the person that's about to hurt me. It was weird. He was probably like 5'10-ish and had the body of a man, and his face was like a human, but the eyes were frightening. His eyes were small slits and completely black and glassy. He was wearing a completely black outfit, long sleeves and pants. He also didn't seem friendly. He looked at me and gave me a creepy smile. I felt very afraid, like I had met him before and knew what was coming. Then he moved forward and touched me, and everything went black. And that's all I remember. For some reason, I had this strange feeling when I woke up that he was a hybrid. I don't know what that means, like half human, half alien? I also had a strange marking on my face that was very faint. It was 2 blue hexagons near my mouth, and I had light bruises on my body. Was also kind of sore. Highly disturbing stuff. The next UFO report. Black Triangle sighting in Surprise, Arizona. Really? Surprise! This occurred July 14th, 2016. While stargazing, it suddenly looked as though a rip or wave clear in the sky showed itself. Then a very large triangular craft was now in my sight, hovered over our house, lurched forward to hover over a neighbor's house, then shot out of sight due west. My name is David, and I testify this account is true and accurate. No drug use or alcohol plays any part of this instance. On the night of July 14th, 2016, around 11:45 p.m., I was tossing garbage out, then decided to look up at a beautifully starlit clear night before turning in. While cranking my neck straight up to view the stars, a sudden ripple-like clear wave happened, and instantly a huge, dark, triangular craft then appeared. I watched with stunned amazement as this craft, being about 3 houses big, hovered about 800 feet or so over me, standing in place. Then after about a minute or two, it lurched forward to hover over my neighbor's house. After a minute or two, or more, It then very suddenly shot away due west. The most curious factors of this event were that 1. It seemed as if this craft suddenly came out of a warp, thus producing this tear or rip in the clear night sky. And when it first appeared, it blocked out a number of the stars I had been looking at, so I knew it was something physical. Number 2, put off no noise at all. Number 3, appeared to be the same triangular shape as the Atari asteroids craft, with a slight scoop at the bottom. Number 4, each of the 3 corners of the craft had a very bright white light. No beams or anything like that. Number 5, watching it shoot out of sight at such incredible speed holds true to just about every other sighting I've watched on History Channel's Ancient Aliens shows. Unless Luke Air Force Base has gotten their hands on something big, none of our military craft can maneuver at such high speeds with no sound. I didn't feel frightened at all, but more intent on mentally capturing everything going on at that time. I was terribly excited afterwards, but felt unsure about reporting it immediately. Yeah, that happens to a lot of people. The next UFO sighting, this happened in Marysville, Washington. December 21st, 2017. In brief, the witness states, I was outside in the morning when I just turned around and was right there. So bright, it's hard to look at. Then it jutted to the south, leaving a orange heat trail behind it. Okay. In more detail, the witness states, on that morning, I took the dogs out and smoke while I wait for them. We have our deck on the 2nd story. The land is all cleared as housing project is going on next door. I had my back to it when I turned around. It was just sitting there, around 100 feet away and about that from the ground. I don't know how long it was watching. It makes no sound. As I was looking at it, almost seemed to get brighter. It hurt my eyes almost like a cloaking light. I couldn't define the shape. Then I'm sure it wanted me to see it, and me to know it saw me as well. All of a sudden, it shot to the south in a very low orangish cloud, leaving an intense orange streak like a meteor. As it was leaving, when it was farther away, I could see the blue exhaust color right under the ship. It helped me see the bottom outer rim shape and some brushed metal look, and there was a small black area. After it went out of my sight, I kept looking. It was way up. It did a zigzag higher each time, then moved in a half circle to the west, as high as I could see. It's odd because I was not filled with fear. I did not want to closer. I don't not want closer? Okay. To get a better look because of my dogs. I think they were looking at the construction site because of the artifacts. The news mentioned it in passing the day after, talking about broken cloud syndrome, but I haven't seen that lady newscaster lately. King 5, I think. I don't know what this person is talking about. Okay. I just, people, it's so awesome people do these reports. We all want to learn. Explain yourself. Check, put spaces, spell check, all those good things. It's so helpful to the world. Truly, truly it is. Anyways, moving on. UFO sighting in Galveston, Texas. This occurred Christmas Day. December 25th, 2017. Sighting picked up by camera when I stopped to take sunrise pictures over Gulf. In more detail, the witness states, on Christmas morning, approximately around 8:30 a.m., my husband and I were in Galveston, Texas to celebrate with family. We were driving down Seawall Boulevard, approaching 61st Street. I had my husband stop. He stopped our car facing the pier, so I could get out and take pictures of the sunrise to send to other family members who were not in Galveston. I stood on the seawall sidewalk taking a series of pictures with my Apple iPhone SE. I stood in the same place and position as I rapidly took several pictures. Later that evening, when I was receiving the pictures I had taken that day, I noticed the greenish orb on 3 of the pictures. It was apparent it was moving eastward and upward when compared to the clouds and using the pier house as a reference point. Again, I emphasize I stood still in the same position, just taking photo after photo in quick succession. When I enlarge the object, I am able to see a grid pattern and what is either windows or some type of white orbs docked on it. I do notice in the succeeding pictures the white lights or orbs seems to be moving around the green object and are not stationary. What is strange to both my husband and I is that neither of us saw this large object with our eyes. He was facing the pier, waiting for me in the car, and I scouted out what I wanted in the pictures prior to taking them. Also, no other pictures that I took that day or even later has this object showing, so I've ruled out any dust or dirt on my camera lens. I'm attaching 4 pictures by time sequence. The first picture has nothing showing. The next 3 pictures do. Bom, bom, bom. Wow, okay. The next UFO sighting happened in Portland, Oregon. This occurred January 19th, 2018. In brief, the witness states, I was on the 6th floor of a building. It was heading north, elevation was higher than a helicopter a bit, and moved less speed than a jet. In more detail, they state, I was on the 6th floor of a building at the cross streets of Alder and 10th Street. The object was observed in the southeast heading north. The skies were close to the same gray and lead color of the object. It was a sphere shape and had no lights that I'd seen. The elevation, it was traveling at about the normal height a helicopter would travel. It was just a consistent speed, but nothing extremely fast. As it headed north and started to come over the building, it seemed to be spinning. I'm assuming 'cause it was wobbling like a top when it starts to slow down. I didn't take a video 'cause I was in awe trying to figure out if I was seeing what I was seeing. I don't have a logical reason of any device being able to fit the description. No lights, no propellers, no blades, no landing gear or anything. Just a sphere moving across the sky. The next UFO report happened in Peterborough, England. This occurred January 7th, 2018. Bright lights expanding. In more detail, the witness states, I was standing in my back garden on the 7th of January 2018, having a cigarette looking at the stars. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw what I thought at first was a plane, as it was a bright light with lots of different colors underneath it. I got my iPhone out and tried to take a picture of it. I got a picture that just looked like a star, but not rounded. It was more like a teardrop shape facing sideways. I told my wife and daughter, and they got our camera, which was a 30x optical zoom. The pictures we took were really strange. It moved in strange directions, and even in one picture she took, it moved so quick that she got a line of lights, all different colors. Ooh. She then took more photos, and she caught it as a light and then disappeared, although in the photo it appeared dark in color and very large. We took lots of photos and a video, which it was shifting around all over the place. We came in as it was getting cold outside. That was about 7:30 p.m. We went back outside about 2 hours later, and it had slightly moved to the south, but still doing the same thing, flashing lots of colors and then disappearing and coming back to a bright white light with lots of colors underneath. Ooh, okay, next one. UFO sighting in Bow, Washington. This occurred January 14th, 2018. Took a 30-second shutter speed picture. Object puttered like a Jetson mobile. All right. That's funny. 4:19 a.m. went out to take star pictures when I started taking a 30-second shutter speed picture. I saw an almost typical UFO-shaped UFO puttering, I love that word, along in the sky, slower than a shooting star but faster than planes, and it was literally...
This is New York firefighter Raphael Porriette for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to learn more.
Puttering. The picture does do justice. It was like 15 or 20 seconds long. I couldn't wait to see if I caught it on camera, and I did, and don't know what to make of it. Whoa. I'm looking at this photo, and wow, it really did kind of putter. It's really kind of interesting. You guys gotta check that one out. All right, the next one, alien encounter in Los Angeles, California. This occurred September 30th, 1976. I was alone in the park, was startled, and began running up a hill, and the target I was running toward kept getting farther and farther away. Oh, that's a nightmare. All right, in more detail. One fall day when I was 7 years old, I walked to the park like I always did as a kid, looking for kids to play football with, but the park was virtually empty when I got there. As I walked east across the large playing field toward a road that led to the park's craft center, I was startled by something. I'm not sure what, and I began running desperately up a slope, but the target I was running toward kept getting further and further away from me, almost as if I was in some sort of time tunnel. The next thing I know, I'm on the swings on the other side of the park. Not long after that, maybe a few days, I suppose, my mother and I noticed an odd circular-shaped indentation on the top of my thumb that was not caused by trauma and had not been there previously. That mark is still on my thumb to this day, 42 years later. This profound event that I think of every time I look at my thumb is as fresh in my mind as if it happened yesterday. Incidentally, there are 3 large power lines adjacent to the event location. Wow. Alien encounters are always so freaky. All right, the next encounter, or UFO sighting, we don't know. Okay. There's a sighting in Ruffin, North Carolina. Ooh, this is another UFO blast from the past. This happened December 31st, 1976. In brief, they describe 7 red objects ejected from a larger white object and followed the larger object in a straight line formation until out of sight. In more detail, in January of 1977, 2 friends and I were driving home after visiting a friend. It was around 11 p.m., and we pulled off the road, parked the car, and stood outside the vehicle to observe. After noticing a red object eject from a larger white object, while observing from outside the car, every few minutes another red object was ejected from the larger white object until there were 7 red objects of the same size following the larger white object across the sky in a straight line formation. We continued to observe for approximately 20 minutes until all of the objects passed into the distance and out of sight. The white object and red objects all appeared to be round-shaped. They also appeared to be at about the same distance from us as planes normally fly. When we first noticed the white object, we assumed that it was an airplane. However, after observing the first red object eject from the larger white object, we were amazed and pulled off the road to observe while standing outside. We became fascinated as additional red objects ejected from the larger white object every few minutes until 7 red objects were present. And they followed the larger white object in a straight line formation across the sky until they passed out of sight. The entire event lasted approximately 20 minutes. Afterwards, we discussed and speculated concerning whether the objects were related to military government aircraft or possibly even extraterrestrial in origin. We have discussed it many times through the years and considered reporting the event years ago. This is the first time that I have reported the experience, although I have described it to friends and relatives throughout the years. I discussed the event with a local physics professor during the mid-90s, and he revealed that he had witnessed a disc-shaped object hover over a rock quarry on the same county road that our experience occurred. He also pulled off of the side of the road and observed the object until it departed at an unusually fast rate of speed. There was also a story passed around for years concerning a close encounter on the same road, dating back to 1929. Well, holy cannoli. With two beings entering a disc-shaped craft and taking off at an amazing rate of speed. Well, that's just an interesting road. All right, the next alien encounter occurred in North St. Paul, Minnesota. This happened January 14th, 2017. Okay, in brief, the witness states it's an angel coming into view and accelerating while leaving a contrail. Noticed it in pictures the next day. In slight more detail, I was taking pictures of the bright moon. It was cold and clear. I was really just messing with my phone's camera settings. While leaning on my car, I took several pictures. Noticed that thing the next day. Compared to the helicopters and airplanes, this thing was in sight much longer, from 11:51 to 11:53. So that's the potential of 90 seconds this thing was in sight. Normal aircraft cover the field of view in like 30 to 40 seconds. Oh yeah, I see lots of weird stuff. Okay, I don't know what that all means. Okay, moving on from the UFO reports, we're going to touch on a paranormal point because it's always fun to dabble a little bit into all this, isn't it? All right, so this paranormal article is entitled Little Creatures from Mexico. And this person shares their personal story. And they begin, my mother has told me this story various times, especially since it's one of my favorites. Not too long ago, around 2 to 3 years ago, my mother received a phone call late in the evening from a relative in Mexico. I asked her what it was about, and she told me she would tell me in the morning. The next day I asked her about it, and she replied in Spanish, "If I tell you, you better not come to me at night saying you're scared." Oh, wow. I immediately promised that I wouldn't, but of course, that was a lie, and even as a grown adult, I still seek her protection when I'm scared. She told me in that her niece, who was an infant, was staying at my grandma's house for a while, and one day in the middle of the night, my grandma, my uncle, and aunts awoke to the sound of small bells, laughter, and the sound of feet running around her small abode house. In Mexico, duendes are known to make these sounds and are notorious for claiming the souls of children, especially when the child had not been properly protected while having crossed a river with their parents. Wow, I never heard of such a thing. Earlier, they had passed by the river near my grandma's house without even bothering to protect the child from the duendes. They had forgotten the words of advice from many elders who have told them. Adults are usually warned not to bring children in or around rivers, since Chanos, duendes, goblins, elves, and gnomes are notorious for kidnapping children and oftentimes infants' souls. If a person were to cross the river with their child or infant without saying, quote, "Don't stay in the river or the Chanos will take you," the infant's soul is usually stuck in the river and the infant will cry throughout the night until the duendes, goblins, elves, and Chanos retrieve the infant from its home. Ooh, this is disturbing. In order to prevent this from happening, you must go back with the infant and speak those words at the river you crossed with the child in arms. There is also a plant called a jarral, which grows along the rivers that protects a child's soul from staying in the river. According to many elders, the infant child must be wearing it for the chant and the words to work. My aunts and uncles had ignored the sounds of the chanos and had fallen back asleep since they had thought nothing of it at the time. The next morning they had found her by the door. The grandma believes the chanos tried taking her back to the river since it was impossible for the newborn to crawl from her mother's bed to the door that was near the other side of the house. Ooh. I honestly fear these creatures, and knowing I will have to visit my grandma one day gives me the chills, especially since aliens, duendes, demons, luchuza, and pretty much anything you could think of are known inhabitants of that rural area in which they live. All right. The next paranormal story to share. It's called Strange Creature in the Forest of Mexico. Well, there's a lot of stuff going on down there. And this person shares, I live near the coast of California and I'm 14 years old. Recently, around 2 weeks ago, me and my cousin and little brother decided to go camping. Overall, at the start, we were having a fun time and we're making jokes and eating junk food like hot Cheetos until we heard slight cracking noises like an anvil was falling on sticks. Oh, wow. And that got us alarmed, and as we thought, a bear was going to attack us. So my cousin went out with a big hunting knife. When I mean big, I mean 16.5-inch hunting knife made with the most durable materials, but he came back screaming and tearing up. Whew. He told me that he saw a white, pale creature with really long, bony fingers that ended in points. He said it moved like a dog and looked like one, except it had no tail or ears, not even fur. Then he described it as horrifying and disfigured, which I believed him, the way he was talking so smoothly and how he was acting, but part of me did not want to believe the story he was saying. It sounded like something made up, like something your grandpa would tell you. At this point, we were freaking out. All of us were. I wanted to get the heck out of there. So we were packing up at 8:30 p.m. and we almost finished up by 9 p.m. At that moment, we were happy to be almost done. So we just sat in our tents to take a break, horrified and all. But at the same time, we felt like something was moving, and the panic got worse. When we started to head out of the forest, we heard something, and my cousin forgot his Colt AR-15 at our house he left under the bed. Now I was scared to see what he described. And there it was, looking at me and my cousin and brother. My cousin dropped his knife at the sight of the thing, too scared to even try attacking it. We saw it from a tree. It screeched and ran. It seemed like an hour of staring at this thing, so we packed up the rest of our stuff quickly and ran to the car. I will never forget what I'd seen, and I never want to see it again. So that's why when we go camping in a few months, I'll make sure my cousin brings his Colt. So if we see that thing again, we will try shooting it. I would never go camping again. I don't know what the heck. What? I have never heard of such a creature. That is a really yucky sounding thing. Chupacabra, anybody? I mean, I don't know. This is gross. Yuck. A camping? No. It's like people who go back in the water after Jaws bit a leg off or something. I don't know. Extraordinarily brave or extraordinarily something else. Okay, moving on. I have to tell you guys, thank you for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. Be sure to check out UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day. And again, tune into The Outlander every Friday, 8 p.m. Central. And also read up on my paranormal comic, The Outlanders, at theoutlanderscomic.com. And direct links to everything I mention InceptionRadioNetwork.com or HeidiHollis.com has everything. And if you've experienced something out of the ordinary, want some level-headed advice, or if you've seen a UFO and want to share, be sure to write me by HeidiHollis.com or DusOutlander@gmail.com. Remember always to keep an open mind so you can stay informed and inspired.
This is New York firefighter Raphael Poiriet for Firehouse Subs. Every day, a part of every sub you buy at Firehouse Subs helps provide life-saving equipment for first responders. And now, for a limited time, they're introducing the Daily Sub Special. Every day, get a medium sub of the day for just $5.55. They kick it off with Meatball Monday and finish it off with Italian Sunday, with something delicious every day in between for just $5.55. Firehouse Subs. Enjoy more subs, save more lives. Tap the banner now to